I'm taking a look at the 2019 Honda Pilot Elite all-wheel drive. The Pilot is, of course, Honda's large three-row crossover. It's the minivan for people that don't want to buy a minivan. The Pilot starts at $31,450 for a base front-wheel drive trim called the LX. Today, we're driving the loaded Elite with all the bells and whistles, including VTM4 all-wheel drive. Prices you see it here, $48,020. So what's new on the 2019 model? Plenty. The front has been updated to make it look a little bit less like the Odyssey van, though you can't miss the family resemblance. The looks are improved, but that skid plate, yeah, that's totally not functional. The new Pilot also has improvements to the 9-speed automatic transmission, and the Honda Sensing Safety System is now standard on all trim levels. Let's start with that powertrain. The engine is the same V6 that Honda puts into almost everything they make, but that's not a bad thing. I really do love this motor. Here it puts down 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque to all four wheels through Honda's VTM4 all-wheel drive system. But we'll come back to that later. The engine features cylinder deactivation, which helps it achieve up to 26 miles to the gallon on the highway and 19 around town. The real reason people buy a rig like this is space, and this Pilot is pretty well equipped in this department. Just wave a foot to open the automatic trunk door, and you'll see no less than 83.9 cubic feet of storage. With the second row up, that gets reduced to 46.8. Put the third row up, and it's down to 16.5. There's also a little cubby under the floor, which is nice. Third row space isn't bad for a full-size adult, but the place to be in this Elite model is the second row, which has the optional captain's chairs and flip-down screen with digital entertainment. Insert a Blu-ray, plug in a video source through the HDMI, or stream content through the AT&T hotspot. As an added bonus, back here you also get heated seats, private aircon, and privacy screens. Up front, the Pilot is a refreshing change from the competition, who just doesn't seem to be updating their entertainment systems fast enough. I'm looking at you, Toyota. This Elite includes the optional 8-inch infotainment system. I first reviewed this in the Odyssey last year, and it is great. The colors make it easy to read while driving, and it's loaded with good stuff, from easy access to audio options to navigation, which do feature real 3D maps, and the ability to page passengers all the way in the third row. It also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability through the included USB connectors. An inductive charging pad is also standard at this trim level for those with compatible devices. The main gauge cluster has an exceptionally nice digital dash implementation. The graphics are clean and modern, with easy access to various data points about the vehicle, in addition to a slick display to show torque distribution of the all-wheel drive system in real time. That's my favorite. Control is through integrated buttons on the steering wheel. Honda has done a really great job of including quite a lot of functionality in the wheel without resorting to tacked-on extras. Paddle shifters are small but present. On the right, you can control the adaptive cruise control and lane detection. Adaptive cruise control is part of the Honda Sensing suite of active safety. Using a camera and radars, the system can also detect collisions and attempt to mitigate damage by applying brakes automatically. It's a slick system that is really never too intrusive. This Elite model also gets rear cross-traffic alerts, which they call cross-traffic monitor, and that is handy in parking lots. Blind spot warning and a multi-angle rear camera are also included. Curiously, you still cannot get a surround camera system on the Pilot. That option is limited to its more expensive sibling, the Acura MDX Advance, which starts at $58,000. Overall, this cabin is really nicely thought out. The design is functional and attractive, with quality materials and workmanship throughout. Even the seats are ultra comfortable, with heat, cooling, and 10-way power adjustments with memory. Also, check out that dual sunroof. You don't realize how much you miss it until you sit in the third row of a vehicle that doesn't have one. The transmission is a push-button system that first appeared on Acuras and has since trickled down to Honda. I like it, even though it does take a little getting used to. Right next to the transmission controller is a button to control the Intelligent Traction Management System. This lets you select between normal, mud, snow, and sand modes. Depending on which mode you choose, it optimizes throttle, transmission, and the all-wheel drive system to best suit the requested conditions. For example, in the snow, it'll do a second gear start, throttle will retard, and the all-wheel drive system will keep more power pushed to the back wheels. Now let's dive into the all-wheel drive system. Honda calls it IVTM4. This torque vectoring setup pushes up to 70% of power to the back wheels, and of that, it can push 100% to either rear wheel. This helps with cornering, effectively helping to rotate the vehicle as throttle is applied in the corners or when traction gets challenging. Does that sound familiar? If you watch some of our recent videos about the Acura MDX and RDX, you'll probably jump to the conclusion that this is the Acura SH all-wheel drive system, just with a different name. Well, the answer to that is both yes and no. Yes, it's mechanically the same system, but no, because here it's been programmed for different functionality. If you want to learn more about that, we have a completely separate video talking about the differences of IVTM4 and SH all-wheel drive. You can click this link. On gravel, IVTM4, working along with the stability control system, keeps the Pilot tracking where you want it. Hit the throttle, and it's not shy about sending power to the back. The Pilot only has 7.3 inches of ground clearance, though, so you're not going to want to fjord too many rivers, even with the mud setting. On sealed surfaces, the IVTM4 system really makes a difference. Applying a little throttle through the corners diverts more power to the outside rear wheel, which improves handling and control, effectively helping to rotate the vehicle around the bend. Even in a straight line, the V6 is a lot of fun. Let's do a 0 to 60 run. Okay, come to a complete stop, putting the transmission into sport, and 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, okay, feel that pickup. And 40, and 50, and 60. Wow, that's pretty cool. Blipping through the gears can be done using the wheel-mounted paddle shifters. This is where improvements made to the 9-speed transmission can really be felt. Gears switch on the fly reasonably quick. Even when I let the Pilot shift for itself, it still does a solid job of picking the correct gear and holding it longer than the previous system. When cruising, the transmission settles into one of the higher gears, keeping interior noise down. The all-wheel drive concentrates all the power to the front wheels, and the engine cuts down to either 4 or 3 cylinders to optimize for economy. This is a great time to engage the adaptive cruise control, lane detection, and just chill for a state or two. To do this, all I have to do is basically set a target speed. Let's go ahead and set it for 70 because that's the freeway speed here. But I'm behind a truck. So when I set and I set my pace, the Pilot will now pace the vehicle in front of me with whatever speed they're doing. My foot is not on the gas and I'm doing 64, like the truck in front of me. Even though my target speed is 70. This is really great when doing long distance trips. One of the more tiring aspects of long distance driving is all those little micro adjustments that you have to do while on the road. Well, the Pilot takes care of that for you with lane detection. It has a little camera up there that'll automatically read the lanes and center the vehicle for you. Now, all vehicles do a different level of quality in terms of staying on the track, and this one's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and take my hands off completely and let the car do it for me. It's reading the lines, it's keeping us centered. Now this isn't full autonomous, this is merely an assist. You can see it's steering because the road is changing. Yep, it's now telling me to steer. And it's doing a pretty good job of reading the lines and keeping the vehicle in front of it. However, there is a slight ping-ponging motion. Now, the Volvo, for example, will read the lines and keeps the car dead center. It does a better job, but it's also a much more expensive car. Now, because this is the Elite trim, in addition to the Honda Sensing suite of safety equipment, which includes collision mitigation, adaptive cruise control, lane detection, and lane departure mitigation, this one also has blind spot warnings, which you can see this light up whenever a car goes by, and it has rear cross traffic alerts, which is really useful when you're in a mall parking lot and you can't see behind you. You start pulling out,
and the sonars in the back will look left and right, something you cannot do in a driver's seat. So it actually gives you more capability.
These improvements Honda made for 2019 address some of the most significant issues I had with the 2018 model. It's safe to say it's now one of the best three-row crossovers on the market. Granted, for $48,000, it's not cheap, but you're getting a very capable, flexible, and fun vehicle. I can't even complain about the infotainment. How often does that happen? Viewer Blitzbuffel says I should state the weight in these reviews. Well, the Pilot is 4,319 pounds as tested according to Honda. That MDX A-Spec you commented on, yeah, that one weighed 4,275. Both have a towing capacity of 5,000 pounds when equipped with all-wheel drive, 3,500 pounds when equipped with front-wheel drive. On Instagram, one of our followers, Braille Swan, suggested that the Pilot is so good, it makes the MDX pointless. I would say, not quite. Yes, the Pilot has much better technology and it uses space better for $10,000 less than the MDX. But the fact is, they both drive quite differently. Also, the MDX is a lot quieter. Oh, the MDX also has more ground clearance, a full 8 inches compared to the Pilot's 7.3. So long as there are drivers that want more performance-oriented experiences and are willing to pay for it, the MDX still has a place in 2019. That said, I expect the 2020 MDX will change that equation entirely. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. So what do you think? Does this new Pilot render the 2019 MDX irrelevant? Join me in the comments and let's talk about it. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. We'll see you next time.